All right. Good afternoon, folks. Haven't seen me in a while, right? If you're a regular consumer, I'm laughing because I literally just a couple hours ago finished off. Oh, no, wait, that's the wrong one. Finished out the live college football show from Duffy's, and here we are again, as promised, doing another live show. Why is it not showing? Let me just get it shared out real quick. I want to make sure it's getting shared. Come on, come on, come on. Why is it doing that? Oh, yes, it's here. It's here. All right, cool. Share it. All right, it's working. I have to share it later. All right, yes, back again as promised. Stay Hard Sunday. First of all, first and foremost, if this is your first time tuning into this channel, be sure you like, commenting, subscribe, and sharing it out. Let me just introduce myself real quick. My name is Aswan Krochink. I am your one and only Musufti speaker, former Division I college football player, and current five-time, soon-to-be six-time published author and educator. And what we do around here is we take the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and we apply them to businesses and business owners so they have a staff that moves like a championship high school or youth football team. Again, one of the facets, one of the things that we do around here is really develop systems and make it so systems are working harder than the actual individual. Part of the system is something called Stay Hired Sunday. I was blessed enough, lucky enough about a year ago to interview Miss Kimberly Blue on this very channel. And we just decided, hey, man, let's keep this thing going, staying hired and being a person in the HR world. These things are never going to go away. There's always going to be material to talk about. Let's pick a day of the week and talk about it. Now, again, football season is back, folks, so things are going to be getting a little crazy. All right, I know my Redskins or Commanders took an ass kicking yesterday. It's preseason. I know I didn't like it, all that kind of stuff, but at least it's back and we can comment on it. We can do a lot of dialogue when it comes to that. So all that being said, Kimberly, how you doing?
Doing good, Aswan. Good to see you. Good to be here. I'm excited for the show today.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we are going to pick it up about, I think it was 2 weeks ago. If you guys recall, we sort of changed the format a little bit for the show where she was asking me questions based on some things that were common in the HR world. I myself recently started this week of school. So just so you know, Kimberly, we started our first week of school this past week, and I'm officially in that new position as sport fitness director. There's actually another like employee development company that I'll be working with after school as well. So there's a ton of questions that we're getting in terms of our day to day that we're just going to kind of bring to you guys and answer them, and then we'll kind of go from there. So we usually keep these around 20 to 25 minutes, depending on the question. So let's just get it started.
All right. The first question: what's the most effective way to gather honest feedback from my employees?
I honestly think it is about being vulnerable. As a business owner, your vulnerability is so important. It's so important for you to express yourself to the staff because when you've been given a title and when you've been moved in a direction where people are paying attention to your title, so all of a sudden, mentally, psychologically, you're so much more important than you were if you would have said other title. You know, something that is like if you say you're the CEO, you and now in the person's mind, their anxiety is heightened because you have the power to, in their mind, I'm just saying in their mind, they have the power to keep them employed and not keep them employed or whatever it is. So if you're vulnerable and say, hey, these are the things I've learned, these are the things that I have been burnt by in the past. Like if you're a business owner, say, look, I've tried hiring this person, it didn't work out because of the things I wanted. If you're vulnerable enough around your staff, then you're going to have effective communication. Now, trust me, vulnerability it comes strategically. Don't just be, talking about all your problems. Vulnerability only works when you've shown people how you've overcome whatever situation. So if it's an example where, hey, you hired this person in the past, it didn't work out, and I overcame it by X, Y, Z, then you're gonna get honest feedback from the right person. The right staff member is starting to trust you with whatever their problem is, and you guys figure out a way to fix it. Figure out a way to fix it.
Yeah, I agree. And surveys are great, but a lot of times people don't want to give honest feedback
Mm-hmm.
in surveys because they're afraid of retaliation. They're afraid of being found out. They don't want to
Yes.
look like they're complaining. And
Yes.
so, you can call them roundtables, you can call them whatever you want, but having this authentic, even 101 group face to face and
Mhm.
just share your struggles. I
Yep.
agree. I think that will go a
Yeah.
long way. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to go down to a different section. And this one came from a question that I had earlier this week. What is the difference between annual reviews and ongoing performance conversations?
All right, annual reviews. This is huge, especially in my world. Seeing that I teach at a brand new startup school where you are kind of you're putting numbers out there for the end of the year per se, and say, hey, this is the amount of kids that are reading at this level. These are the test scores, yada yada yada, versus the ongoing performance. Everything is factored in an ongoing performance. The day, like what exactly a person is going through day to day. All of that stuff is going to lead to the results you need. Now, the over a year time, that's more for the corporate folks that are just looking at money and is the money coming up. But if we're talking about development of an individual, you need to be paying attention to the day-to-day numbers. All right. This is really, really important. All right. I remember the gym that I worked at, 9 Round Kickboxing Fitness and Plantation. I would say it all the time that if the CEOs and the founders of this company would have saw my owner every single day, he would have been asked to be removed because the moves and the things that he was doing on a day to day were not at all systematized in a way we're going to get new people in. You're just depending on folks coming in and out, and lo and behold, it did go. They did go out of business. But the way you could look at it annually is you say, oh, well, we got this amount of membership, and you could say the numbers. You could say certain people have a certain amount, but when you look at the day to day, you haven't created a system in which new people are coming in every day. So it's very, very, you have got to say money is the annual thing. Now, the day to day operation and development of the people, you have to pay attention to that, and you have to look at it in a different way.
And so an annual review, so ongoing performance review
Mm-hmm.
should equal that annual performance review if you're having those ongoing conversations. So
Yes.
ongoing and meeting goals should equal. So annual review should not be a surprise. And annual
Very true.
reviews, I really am not a huge fan. I'd rather have goal base, either goal based, 360, peer feedback. There's so many other things that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
And because people feel like the annual reviews don't reflect their whole work that they've done. So
Mm-hmm.
by breaking it down, either bi-monthly or quarterly even, you'll get a better snapshot, I think, of people's performance over a whole year.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So how do you create a career path in a company with limited mobility?
Well, all right. So mobility, it's kind of relatable. It depends on the person. So when you say mobility, give me some examples.
So think about a company that has we're going to say an operations manager, and the next, you could say, I'm going to use a warehouse, for example. So you
Hmm.
have an order selector, a supervisor, an ops manager, and then
Hmm.
the next step is a VP. So from to go to an order selector to a VP, how do you get to that when there's only just a couple of steps?
Right.
How do you make your people ready? How do you train them and teach them to act
Hmm.
and think like a owner?
Yes. It boils down to the. All right. So this is important because we've discussed this multiple times on this show. It really
Yes.
boils down to the vision of you as a business owner, right? What is actually the priority for your organization? Because I personally been around the block, and I'm going to use one example. My guy Dupree. Dupree he started out he worked at LA Fitness. I met him when I was working at LA Fitness, and he started out as a seller before they even gave commission, like before they even gave like a base salary. It was all you eat what you kill, and whatever you sell in LA Fitness, then that's just basically how you're going to get your check. So he went from seller to GM in multiple different clubs, and then eventually he became a VP of LA Fitness, and it happened because he was able to prove his sales. There was a number attached to his name in terms of what he was selling every day. So when it comes to your organization and you as trying to be that person that's moving up, you have to figure out how are you adding value to the organization. Now, granted, it can be difficult if you're dealing with a visionless owner that only thinks about his profits and how he's going to make money. It's not to say that it's not possible. You just got to ask yourself, what is the best way to bring money to this organization and focus on that. That's it. I remember, I think I heard Stephen A say this one time. He goes, he woke up with one mission. It's there's people who got money. How do I get some of it? Two missions. He said he thought with this mentality. There's somebody out there with some money, and I want to get some of it. Period. Right? There was no. I mean, he set the market. It's a different market now in ESPN because the mentality was all right. The folks that how it's coming in. Think about how it's coming in, and then just think about how you get some of it, and then just go from there. Don't overcomplicate it because the question is valid because there's a lot of visionless managers out there, visionless owners out there that inherited some business, and now it's like the old saying they're sitting on third and act like they hit a triple. It's because whoever ran the bases, you're right there on third, so you're acting like you actually knew stuff. And many times, a lot of us know they don't know shit about the organization, but the people working in it, they stayed there because they kind of kept them happy based on the salary. What you have to do is figure out how the money is coming in overall. Figure out, just like Stephen A. Smith, how do you get some of it, and go get some of it. Period.
Well, I agree 100%. You have to add value. And if
Yeah.
you're an employee looking to go with go up the ladder, think
Huh?
about that it's a whole business. It's not just one pathway. You can gain insight and there's other opportunities across the organization. And number one, speak to your manager. They're not going to know that you want to grow with the company unless you tell them.
Hmm.
And as a business owner or a leader, take ownership of your people, know what they want so you can help them get there.
Exactly.
Yep. So, how do you handle employees who abuse flexibility policies?
Mhm.
This, would relate to they have unlimited leave, and so they abuse it and they work and they still get paid, right? So
Mhm.
it's unlimited and they take off, 3 of the 5 days a week. How would
Yeah.
you handle that?
This I think it's important that you, even though I did mention being vulnerable with them at the beginning, it's important that you don't become so close to the point where you can't let them go. We had a situation like that at the school I teach about a year and a half ago. There was a particular teacher who knew she didn't have any PT. I might have said this to you on the show. If not, then I'll bring it to you. A perfect person to talk to about this. But she had a certain amount of PTO. I don't even think she was there for a whole year yet. So she obviously didn't have as much. It didn't start accumulating. But then she decided to take off for some wedding from another colleague who's getting married, and she decided she's going to take off for a wedding. Right? Granted, okay, you want to be at the wedding and you want to have fun and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you were told very clearly and explained very explicitly if you go over your PTO hours, then you will be let go because what starts to happen, and this is what a lot of you current entry level employees need to understand. When your PTO hours go, when you go over your PTO hours, now you don't get covered for your insurance. The money starts coming in, like the people who actually have to pay for this kind of stuff, it starts to increase and they look at it from, like you just mentioned, from a number standpoint. So you've been given a certain amount of PTO for a reason based on what you're making. So if you go over your PTO, they have nothing, there's nothing, their hands are tied. They have to let you go. So when it comes to abusing flexibility, it's plain and simple, knowing that the owners and the people who run the organization, they have jobs too. They have asses that are on the line too. They have people that they have to answer to too. So if you're gonna abuse a friendship, you deserve to be let go. Plain and simple. I didn't say it to her directly because honestly I got the story kind of late. I don't really deal too much with my colleagues that much. But the issue when I heard the story was like, same time she knew she had PTO that she couldn't use, but she still decided to go to the wedding. So it wasn't like you weren't warned. It wasn't like you weren't told, hey, you can go, but we can't keep you. And that's so compared to some other organizations, that's more than what other people have gotten. I didn't see people get terminated on the spot without knowing anything and the family and all that stuff. So I would make sure you, as a person that is given the flexibility, show your damn appreciation. Make sure you show some gratitude in terms of how you operate your business to understand that that person is having their ass on the line just as much as you.
And ownership of your performance. Don't take advantage. And if you're a leader who has someone taking advantage, have the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. It doesn't matter if they're hourly, if they're a flexible time, have the conversation. If you don't catch
Mm-hmm.
it early, then that means you're accepting the behavior.
Right.
All right. So, how do you build trust with employees who've been burned by previous leadership?
Well, for me personally, because I have been in that situation, I have found that the folks that allow allow understand that there's two sides to every story, and allow a person to get their side out and really listen, not just bullshit and just talk and okay this, but really listen to what another person's going through than just the saying it. Like, I mean, I had so many situations. I'll probably be on here for an hour talking to you about this, but I'll just kind of give you a brief overview. When someone sees something that's wrong, unethical, and they're able to tell another individual, the kind of relief it gives you as an individual that's willing to show. And again, these are the people that show up on this show, and the ones that tune into my work. They're wanting to work. They're wanting to have a job. They're wanting to do things somewhat productively. If they see something that is completely unethical, it becomes a challenge to get it out because the mindset initially is to want to work. But when you're able to meet a person who has some rank or understands what you had to live through and what you had to say no to, that relief that it gives in your mind, man, it's like you're a baby again, man. And you finally see your mom after that. It's like, oh, thank God that somebody just simply understands, hey, what this person asked me to do was incredibly unethical. I don't want to do it, and I don't think it should affect my job because I'm doing what's best for the organization. Explaining that, breaking that down. Now, on the flip side of that, I'll give you guys the same advice that Kimberly has given me in the past, which is jot everything, notate everything. Man, you'd be so proud of me, man. All week, the wrongdoings and the things I'm doing, I got a Google Doc right here. I said,
Yeah,
that's jotted. The date is
that's good.
boom, 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 boom. Okay, boom, boom. Because they're not fucking with me this year. Like, this is a position I've been wanting. They didn't have this position before when I applied to school, so they created a position specifically
For
for me.
you.
So I'm
Yes.
not gonna let other people and their bullshit get in the way of the success and things I'm trying to build. So I'm like, all right, remember, jot it down, and then we could, if we really want to do this, we can do this. So again, yes, talk to some people about the things that are unethical in your world, in your mindset, but also jot everything down to protect yourself because you actually do want to do something that's good.
And you build trust by giving trust. So you can't
Hmm.
blame old leadership for new leadership.
Right.
So you have to also give people a chance, right?
Hmm.
So that's important. All right, this next question is probably going to take the rest of our time because this is one of our favorite topics too.
Not a
So,
problem.
what is one change a business owner can do or a company can do to help retention this week?
I would say seeing that, okay, here's the big thing: current events. I think one change that you can do, like, and this can happen every week, but in terms of this week, what's happening in the current events? What's happening that's brand new that would be relatable to the person that you are talking to? All right. Speaking on current events and like talking people through a current event actually does make it so people know you're thinking about them. The CEO of the school that I teach at just 2 weeks, about a no, it was last week. Yeah, it was last week when we officially opened up. We had a half day that Friday, but he comes up to me. He goes, our president just signed a bill that is going to be reviving the presidential fitness test. That meant the absolute world to me because it's a current event. I had no idea that it happened because I was so, gelled into the work I'm doing. But then it created so much of the work I'm doing. Like, it created a whole YouTube video and an article and all the stuff that I already do when I see something that's relatable. When you can do that, then a person sees that they're heard, they see what they do, they're valuable to an organization, and then they can go out and take the initiative to go and get something done. That leads to retention. All right. It leads to retention when you're able to talk to someone in a kind of an objective way when it comes to or subject, however you want it, like an unopinionated way about a current event and say, this can help you do this, and that's going to allow you to align with your role here.
Perfect. One thing that I do when I'm given a training is I
Mm-hmm.
always ask if they give me the top three things that you love about your job today,
Oh,
and
that's
the
a good one.
top, huh?
That's a good one.
Yeah. Or and with that, What are the top three things that if you can change today that you would change?
Mm-hmm.
And by asking those pointed questions where they have to answer, you're going to find out really quickly what's working well. And you're going to find out really quickly what you have to work on. So take those things, that the three bottom things, and then when they give you those answers, say, how would you fix it? Because that is your action plan right there. You know what the issues are. You know what the actions that your employees can take. Now, I could tell you, is it always going to jive with the action plan, your action plan?
Mm-hmm.
No. But
Mm-hmm.
there's some things that are low hanging fruit that you can fix right away.
Right.
There's things that you're going to have to work on
Right.
that'll take longer. But going to the short wins and the medium sized wins will go a long way with building trust with your people and increasing retention.
Exactly. And if it is your first time tuning in, be sure you are bookmarking this, saving this one, because this was really, really important. We've discussed some of these things in the past, but it's like I just mentioned, these things happen every single day. They currently happen all day, every single day. And the building the trust factor is an ongoing thing. You don't get to stop. You don't get to say, okay, I built that trust today, so now I can go fuck off. No, no, no. You have to make sure it's a part of your system day in and day out, because that's what dominates the business. The people are the ones that make a business work. All right. So all that being said, again, appreciate you guys tuning in. At least that's my plan, is to be doing it next week as well. I will be in Maryland right now. That's Sunday. I don't think I have much control of my schedule, outside of the fact that I'm going to be running in the morning. But I'll be at my niece's Sweet 16. Can't believe I'm actually saying that live. It's crazy to think about it. But I am looking forward to being back home in Maryland, even if it's just for a day or so. And then getting me the biggest mission is to get me some Washington, get back into some burgundy and gold as well. So I'm not just rocking my Michigan stuff, I'm also rocking my Redskin stuff as well. So I can really represent out here. I've been in so many lit stores looking for Redskins gear or Commanders gear, whatever you want to call them, and they have nothing except like a t-shirt. I'm like, okay, I go home, I'm getting back into some burgundy and gold so I can switch it up. Michigan 1 week, Redskins the next week, however we want to do it. However, what was the debate this? We can talk about it. So we're
All
crazy.
right.
Anyway,
I hope you have a
Kimberly,
great
I'll give you
time
the
next
last one.
week.
Yes, later.
Well,
Later,
thanks
guys.
for tuning in, guys, and we will see you soon. Have a great week.
All right.